taking the podium is Philadelphia Union head coach Jim Curtin. Jim will give an opening statement, then we'll open the floor to questions.
Yeah, overall, just to reflect back on the past two games, obviously a good performance to get the bounce back against Columbus here, and then to go on the road where we've talked about improving our group. Didn't put in a strong enough performance to get points on the road. Again, New England was a team that was at home in need of desperate points, and we didn't do a good enough job making it a hard night on them. We talked a lot about shutting down their key guys, doing a good job closing the ball down, and overall in the first half we were hesitant to put bodies on them, to be physical, a lot of little 1-2s in and around us, so we struggled in that regard. Again, we're able to have some opportunities for about a 30-minute stretch in the second half, but ultimately didn't do enough on the road. It's something we're going to have to improve on drastically as we go down the stretch. We need to obviously take as many points as possible. It starts with our next two games at home against a very good FC Dallas team coming off of also a disappointing result. So we know that they'll be angry and eager to go and right their last performance, and we're in the same boat. Again, we've been solid at home. We need to continue that, and then we still need to find ways to take points on the road, which is something we've come up small.
Questions, James?
What's it like prepping for that Dallas team? They had very un-Dallas-like performance at home. They're missing a couple guys because of suspension. What's it like prepping for them?
Yeah, they're, Oscar does a great job. They're a very dynamic, dangerous attacking team, a ton of speed with Lamont and Barrios on the wings. Whether it's Urruti, Coleman, or both guys up front, they're a handful. Obviously, the suspension to Gruezo helps. He's a very talented player. Everybody always, when they talk about Dallas, speaks of how dangerous they are in attack. But really, I think the real anchor in their team is their two center backs. When healthy and together, I think that they have two of the best center backs in our league, and that's why they've been in and out of the national team setup recently. So a very good team all around. A team that you have to execute in front of goal. We're going to create chances like we usually do at home. It's just going to be a matter of being clinical. And again, you have to prepare for them. Atiba Harris also suspended, but they have a deep team. They have a lot of talent, and they're a top team in the West.
Jim, what's the Andre?
Yeah, so Andre still has, is still healing, still has the stitches in. Again, it was 7 stitches that kind of go from one side to the other, which is, if you remember back at Brian Silvestri had a similar injury and kept redoing it and splitting it open. So again, hopeful for the weekend. He's been able to do technical exercises with the group. So we're working a lot on his footwork and he's staying active. But it'll be just a matter of timing now. Is it able to heal? Do we get the clearance from the doctors that it's not going to do any further damage? Because we don't want it to be a situation where it's constantly ripping every time he takes a shot. So it will either be Dallas or Montreal at the worst case scenario.
Is that a prerequisite for him being able to play? Do the stitches have to come out, or do you think he
No, I mean you can. It's just it's a combination of do you want to do further damage? Do you want to keep having it rip open? The pain threshold for it is obviously something that he doesn't know yet because it's still in that awkward, kind of wrap. The stitches will, usually it's 7 to 8 days, sometimes less, sometimes more. So we're kind of following the medical side on this one. Looking at it as Wednesday now, talking with him. There's a chance, but it's probably unlikely, that he makes the Dallas game.
Jim, there was a couple of foreign reports linking a guy named Nicolas Martinez to the team. Do you care to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a player we're familiar with, a player that we're always looking to upgrade our roster, but at this time he's still Olympiacos' property, so to really talk one way or the other about him is kind of not something that we're going to do.
That deadline of the window closing next week is kind of looming. I know you guys can add free agents after that, but how much does that deadline kind of loom for you guys in terms of, do you see yourself doing something before then? Would you still have the flexibility to do something afterwards?
Yeah, I think we're always working and we're actively looking, to bring in someone that can help. It has to be the right fit. It has to be in an area of need for the group. We believe in the roster that we have, so we are still confident that, down the stretch with 6 home, 6 away left, there's still a lot of soccer out there. We recognize our margin for error is a small one now. We've done that to ourselves, but at the same time, we have a good group. Again, we're always looking to upgrade. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to try to find different things, but at the same time, we have to be smart and it has to make sense. It has to be a fit for the Philadelphia Union.
Jim, is it too early at this point to give you scoreboard watch? I know there are a bunch of games that may, New England, Chicago, DC playing, games like that this week that may present an opportunity if you guys get 3 points. Is that something you want to look at?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's pretty clear now. There's been some real separation in the East. The point totals are high in the Eastern Conference. The 6th spot is one that you have to get to. To obviously have a chance. To make noise in the playoffs. So have to get in. And first and foremost, there's probably 4 to 5 teams that think that they have their eye on that spot as well. So we all play each other a bunch down the stretch here. So all those games become huge. Whether they're home, whether they're away. Again, it's not an area you want to be in, but at the same time, it is the situation that we've put ourselves in. We have to fight our way up the table, and again, things can change fast in this league. You saw teams make late runs last year. It starts with getting on a run and getting into that, above that red line, and then from there trying to work your way up as high as you can before it goes into the playoffs, because again, it is a challenge to go on the road like last year to Toronto. You want to set yourself up a little better than that. That's a challenge right now for all the teams that are in and around that area. It's not going to be easy.
What's kind of the psychological aspect of it? It seems like there's a lot of games, as tough as that must-win label is, it seems like there's a lot of games that might be called must-wins. How do you kind of mitigate that psychological impact on the guys?
Yeah, I think the same thing applies, that applied in week 1. You have to find ways to win your home games in this league. That is for sure. That is clear. Again, our road total in points has been a disappointment. It's been not good enough for a variety of different reasons. We haven't had the same possession, the same chance creation when we've gone on the road, and we've looked not like ourselves. So that's something we have to rectify. Again, you guys can point to all the past history of the league and what win total it takes, what point total it takes on the road, what point total it takes at home. And we're coming up a little bit short right now, and it's something we have to push forward. So again, I think it's going to take more than last year's point total. So we have our work cut out for us, but at the same time, it's not an impossible feat.
Jim, with Greg healthy, the number 10 run overall started the season had a solid game on Wednesday. Is that something you guys look at game by game at this point?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Again, the combination of our team doing a better job putting that number 10 on the ball more, the number 10 moving a little bit more to find spots that are dangerous for the other team. Again, it's a group effort in that regard, and it's obviously a spot when we're going well. We're getting goals and assists from that area of the field. It's obviously important to keep that going. CJ's been one that has carried us a bunch in terms of the statistical output, in terms of goals and assists, and hold-up play. We need, as a team, more guys kind of taking that load off of CJ. Because again, if you look at his, game started, and minutes played, the small actually number of shots that he even gets off, he's putting up some big numbers, and it's up to us now as a group and as a team to do more to maybe take that burden off his back when he's got the 2 center backs hanging on him for the entire 90 minutes.
Jim, for all the things that Chris does well, you get the Golden Cup call this year and the comeback award last year. He hasn't scored this year,
right?
And the assists seem like they've dried up too. I mean,
right.
what do you attribute that to? Why do you think he's not producing the stat sheet the way he did last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're asking ourselves. We're looking at different things. How can we do a better job putting him in spots to get to the end line more, to get him behind. Last year he had a knack for showing up on the back post for crosses, and everything he touched was going in. And this year, while he has got some assists, the goal hasn't come yet. Again, he's a guy who's going to be honest and work incredibly hard. He's done a good job in certain aspects in helping the team. He's a pro that, he needs to get that first one to go in, and we're confident he can break out of, the goal scoring slump that he's in. So, usually when guys go away with the national team, they come back with some confidence. We've seen that in training, and again, when we talk about now the last 12 games, we're going to need our key guys to really raise their level and step up in some big spots. And Chris would be one of those guys that I think we need to obviously have some production in terms of goals down the stretch with. And again, part of it is just getting that first one, again, continuing to run hard in the box, and when he does get his opportunities, being clinical in there.
Jim, it's been a while since Keegan's gotten a start.
Yeah.
I know the defense has been performing pretty well, but is there anything specific that you need to see from him to kind of push past Ray and to get into the lineup?
Yeah, it's earned in training each and every day. I had a good talk with him again today, and keeping him posted on what he needs to work on and improve on in training. Defensively, the different ideas of staying right off the outside back of your center back. And again, listen, Keegan's going to be a big part of the future of this club. I know he's frustrated. He wants to be on the field where he can help the group, and that's something that he's working to improve each and every day. But again, it's earned in training, and it's earned in the 90 minutes. He'll have another opportunity at some point, and when that point comes, he'll be called upon. He needs to be ready. He knows that.
Jim, just a couple incidents with the Montreal game. You talked about the halftime discussion you guys had about the Fafa not squaring that ball to the penalty thing with the CJ and Roland. Whether or not any kind of lack of chemistry exists there, any kind of real conflict exists, does the optics of it or the body language bother you at all when you see those things play out on the field?
Two totally separate cases, I would say. So again, the first one, Fafa knows the mistake. He was the first to admit after the game that he knows he should have squared the ball. So can Fafa sometimes take criticism a little better in terms of just listening and not always having the last word? Absolutely. But he's a competitor. He's an attacking player. They think a little differently. So again, I want him to be confident. I want him to be a little bold and brash. So again, I don't have a problem with a heated locker room discussion over a play that was made, as long as the guys are still fighting for each other, which they still are. CJ the same way. We talked at halftime and it was over at that point. Does he want to take the penalty kick in that situation? Absolutely. It's been seldom, a couple times now, but very few times where we've had two guys that are you'd consider strong at penalty kick taking to be on the field at the same time. You can debate all you want over who should take it, who earned it, and that kind of thing. But for people that have been in those moments and the heat of the moment, it's not the first time that's happened. It happens all over the world all the time, where goal scorers want what's essentially not a guaranteed goal, but a gimme, because it's right in front of the goal. So again, you don't want to have guys now fist fighting on the field, but again, it's something that they're competitive. They want to score. They want to help the game, and I think that those are normal incidents. It's a locker room that again is very strong. They fight for each other. No one can really question CJ's work ethic or response, a negative response to that incident, or taking it out on Roland in any way, shape, or form. So they're together. They're strong, and again, that's a situation that it happens in soccer.
Jim, other than Andre injuries, how's
Fabian still continues to recover from the sports hernia. That's going fine. Still a little bit of a ways off, obviously. Cooch has a minor groin issue that's held him out of training the past 2 days. But overall, fairly healthy group, which is good.
Any update on Owen's progress?
It's the same. There's another meeting about that today, and we'll kind of make an assessment as to whether they think it's a good idea to play some minutes with the Steel or not a good idea. So out of my hands on that one.
whether it's a good idea to play this week or?
Bethlehem. Yeah, Bethlehem this week would be the hope, but again, not totally up to me. It's more in the doctor's hands.
Andre Blake can't play. Just what does it mean having a player like John McCarthy who's been so good this past?
Yeah, John's been great. You know, again, Andre's talent speaks for itself. He's a guy who's coming off of an incredible Gold Cup performance. You know, Johnny's done a really good job, you know, stepping up his game in a tough spot. Again, it's always hard to play behind, especially in the goalkeeper position, because it's always a challenge, and there's always the waiting your turn aspect of it, especially when you play behind a really strong one. So for him to have the success he has speaks to all the hard work that he's put in, speaks to Oka Nikolov and the great work he's done with all of our goalkeepers. So yeah, happy for Johnny. He's stepped up in a big way and done a good job in the games that he's got.
Anything else here on the floor?
Jim, the All-Star Games tonight.
Yeah.
There's always been a bit of maybe about different ideas about who should go in the selection process,
Yeah.
and whether we should still be playing foreign teams or whatnot. Do you guys have any ideas on all that in general?
Yeah, I think it's still a good advertisement for the game. Is there a little bit of a copycat thing with our league and the other leagues in the United States? For sure. You know, I think it is an American, whether it's baseball, basketball, the NFL, maybe to a lesser extent. The Pro Bowl doesn't get as much love, but it's kind of a tradition historically. In terms of who gets selected, there's always mistakes. There's always going to be a little popularity here and there. You know, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes the players who do get a vote, the amount of players sometimes, and I say this from my playing time, not as a coach, observing what goes on. A lot of the players that do a lot of the complaining about who gets in or not don't take the time to vote, or don't take the vote seriously. So you've seen different ballots handed in that are filled out in a way to manipulate and help maybe a teammate or yourself. So again, it's a touchy one. I don't know the exact way to get it right. I know that if you do leave it just to the players or just to the fans or just to the media, the scope of opinions is very wide in that regard. So it's not a perfect process. It's not in any other sport either. You get into the whole, should each team have a representative? Everybody gets a trophy and all that garbage too. So again, it's you don't want that either. So again, it should be a celebration of our league. Do I like East-West better? Probably. You know, I still think it should be our league. You know, we're at the stage now where it should be selling money that just came in from Adidas. You know, the league's moving in a good direction for sure. Are people as interested in Madrid and Bayern Munich and Manchester United when they can watch them on the TV literally every weekend? It's probably worn off a little bit. Was that maybe necessary earlier on? Yeah, but maybe we're outgrowing that, and it would be cool to get it back to East-West and make it competitive. Again, that's not a new idea by any stretch, but I think that it's still a real honor for a player when you're called an all-star and you're respected by your peers, by the media, by you know, the fans. I think it's still special. So I think it's an important game and an important honor to achieve. How you go about the whole selection process is there's still some things that, you know, are always going to be a little controversial. But overall, it'll be a great game. To play against Madrid tonight is a cool experience for those guys. Are all the exact players that I think have had the best years out on the field? Probably not. You know, but that's what the All-Star Game's about.
So Jim, just you had 3 top draft picks last year,
Yeah.
King and Josh and Fabian, and sort of had disappointing seasons.
Yeah.
And they're kind of stuck in a spot where they're not getting first team minutes and they're not quite playing for Steele. What do you do to make sure those guys keep developing
Yeah.
on the paths you've set for them when they're not getting first team minutes?
Yeah, it's a fair question. It's a good question. The thing is, each one is a little different. You know, you have Rosenberry, who had a ton of accolades, had that All-Star recognition, national team recognition. It was a lot in a short amount of time. Still is a great player, still will be a great player for the club, but had a little bit of a dip early in the season, and the change was made. That happens in almost every player's career, minus maybe the Cristiano Ronaldos and the Messis and the guys that never have had to be subs in their lives. but you learn from that. I think that's where Keegan would be at. Josh had a tough injury. When you miss four plus months of preseason, he's literally just getting himself going again, and it's hard for people to recognize that it's not just an instant thing. So you have pros now that are literally in mid-season form, and Josh is in what is like, week 3 or 4 of preseason. So he's just getting going. You can remember back to some of the games at the beginning of the season in the league and how different they look now in terms of the pace and everything like that. So he's unfortunately an injury situation. Herbers has shown glimpses, and every time it feels like he's going to get his opportunity and his window, it's a little nagging injury. And this is another case where we lose him to an injury. So again, still 3 guys that the club believes in a great deal. Really good, bright futures, I believe. You're still working on different things, even today with Josh, stepping, dropping together with Jack, and being together and on that same page, trying to get better in his passing and distribution. Keegan trying to get forward to the end line more and getting those 3 to 4 crosses per half, and still being able to recover on sprints and do the defensive side. So they're all in different stages right now. A little bit, each situation is a little different in the 2 cases that injuries, bad injuries, not bad injuries, but injuries at bad times for both of them. It was almost going to be their spot, and then all of a sudden it was gone. But that's pro sports, and they'll bounce back and be better for it. But again, still 3 guys that are in different phases right now, but are all really, really talented players that we believe in a great deal.
Any questions for Jim on the phone? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.